Hello fellow YouTubers, welcome to this video, and I'm going to make the intro really quick because we have a lot of shit to get through, unfortunately. So let's start this off by saying this is the Wrestling Classic. This happened in November of 1985, which is about 7-ish months after the first WrestleMania, and about 4 months before WrestleMania 2. This is the only pay-per-view that kind of sits in between them, which is pretty interesting because nowadays we have like 15-ish, something like that. It's anywhere from like 11 straight up into like 19, which is just fucking ridiculous. But anyway, the intro sucks for the Wrestling Classic, so my intro can suck too. They still like the space theme, which was weird. I also thought it was weird they had talked about one of the matches being a scientific matchup. And that's weird because for me, what they were obviously referring to was that it was going to be a technical matchup. Whenever I think of that, I think technical, I think indie, or I think amateur. I do not think like scientific. Why? Yeah, they also made reference to Jack Tunney. Who in the hell is Jack Tunney? They said he was the president, which is weird because Vince is. So do they have a kayfabe president too? It's weird how things have changed. Anyway, there's a 10-minute time limit, and the first match is Adrian Adonis versus Corporal Kirchner. And he has theme music. Okay, so I'm gonna level with you guys. Haven't heard of either of these guys. Like, I think I've heard the name Adrian Adonis in passing. It's stuck at least. Corporal Kirchner, for him to have theme music and not be memorable at all is really sad. Because if you really think about it, the list of people who have theme music at this point is maybe like 4 or 5. So, I mean, whatever. Corporal goes for a suplex, and Adonis basically drops. And somehow that gets him a 3 count. Even though it doesn't look like a 3 count, the ref still counts it as a 3 count. And Adonis' promo afterwards was gibberish. So, okay. Then we had Dynamite Kid versus Nikolai Volkov. Nikolai is singing the Russian, well, Soviet anthem. I was about to say the USSR anthem. And then Dynamite Kid hits him with a missile dropkick, which is kind of cool. Okay, before we continue, he wins the match with that, but the thing with this show is that it's a tournament. It's a 16-man tournament, which right off the bat, you expect at least 15 matches for that. And there's also a WWF title match in this show as well. So all of the matches are wildly short. This one being 10 seconds-ish makes sense. You need to do something like this because you have not even 2.5 hours and you have 16 matches. So, yeah, that was nice. We see Randy Savage backstage, which is weird. Like I pictured he had been with the company since at least WrestleMania 1. He shows up in between. Now, I know at WrestleMania 3 he has the IC title, and at 4 he wins the WWF title. So it's weird to think he'd only been in the company for, what, 3 years-ish by that point? Which is weird. He tells us he's nervous, but he's so pumped it doesn't even matter. It was a decent promo, probably one of the better ones that I've seen on these classic pay-per-views, but then we have Ivan Putski versus Macho Man Randy Savage, who has theme music. So again, he had been in the company, let's see, I think I had read that he debuted in like June, May or June. He'd been in the company for about 6 months, and they already knew he was going to be a big enough star. They gave him theme music, which is just weird. The match kind of starts, and Randy Savage spits on the other guy. I mean, damn. The other guy spits back at him in a minute or so later, and Randy gets a dirty pin using the ropes. I want to say we saw like 2 or 3 pins like this throughout the night. So, I mean, again, no idea what Randy Savage's finishing move is. I know he's supposed to do some diving elbow. I don't know if that's his finishing move. CM Punk never used it as finishing move. But half the time on these, well, more than half the time, like 98% of the time on these classic pay-per-views, you don't even see finishing moves. Which is just culture shock, really. But, yeah. It was also worth noting that one of the announcers said he helped Macho Man prepare. That he is helping him. Which raises the question, how impartial are these announcers? You know what I'm saying? Just weird. Vince seen backstage. Vince McMahon, for the record, is backstage with Lord Alfred Hayes talking about the tournament, how great it's been, even though it hasn't really been anything yet. And then Nikolai Koloff comes in and who knows what he said. It was a lot of yelling. It was a lot of gibberish, we're being honest. Now, this was the match they were talking about being a scientific matchup. It was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Davey Boy Smith. Now, again, Davey Boy Smith wasn't even at the first WrestleMania. So within 6 months, we've seen 4 guys in the first 4 matches who have just shown up. And these are apparently supposed to be the 16 biggest stars the company has, ignoring Hogan and Piper. So, the match was pretty exciting at the beginning, but the ref just always seemed out of position, which I guess was the point. Davey Boy launches himself into the ropes, and the ref ends the match. So, he's running at Ricky Steamboat, and he like crossbodies, and Ricky moves out of the way, and he like hits the rope, and within like 5 seconds the bell's rung. Really stupid spot, made no sense. And then they're trying to justify, the commentators are, they're like, oh, well, he couldn't compete, but he just hit the ropes a little bit. He had to really oversell the damage, and it was just too much. So we have the Junkyard Dog backstage being interviewed, and he basically uses his interview to build up the Iron Sheik for their match, which is something very interesting because I always hear Jim Cornette mentioning that you never belittle your opponent in your promo. You always talk about how good they are so that you look better when you beat them. So look, this is justification. This is proof. Sheik jumps in before the bell actually rings. This match sucked. I remember not enjoying this at all. Dog hit a headbutt. It was kind of a weird headbutt and wins. Okay. Then we get Terry Funk getting interviewed backstage, and this was news to me because I always thought Terry Funk was an ECW guy. I must be mixing him up with somebody, or maybe he went to ECW shortly after this. But like the fact they gave him an interview kind of implies they thought something big was coming out of him. So he says that Piper is going to be world champion because the title match is Hulk Hogan defending his WWF Championship against Roddy Piper, which I would assume is one of his only title matches, which is kind of sad if you think about it. And then he spits on the camera a few times. It's supposed to be chewing tobacco. I don't know. It might have been chewing tobacco. I don't know. I don't care. Then there was Moondog Spot. The fuck? Versus Terry Funk. So that's 2 more new people. And Terry tells him to leave the ring because he doesn't want to fight Moondog Spot. And they both agree that they don't want to fight each other, so they go out of the ring. And then Funk kind of attacks him from behind with the forearm. He Pearl Harbors him, if you will. But then, in the scuffle that happens, Moondog Spot gets thrown back in the ring. Terry Funk is outside of the ring for the 10 count. Which, again, man, it looks stupid. Especially being as, like, the way they had it set up, Moondog Spot kind of looked like an idiot. So Terry Funk looked even stupider in comparison. It was bad. Then we had Don Morocco, or the Magnificent Morocco, or something like that, versus the current IC champion, Tito Santana. So remember, at WrestleMania 1, he had been he was about to feud with Greg Valentine. And he won his match with a figure 4 leg lock. Well, now he is the IC champion. So that's pretty cool. They don't mention that, but the announcers even questioned the ref's angling. I don't remember what that was about, but I thought it was important enough to make notes. Morocco has Tito beat, but his foot is on the rope, so the ref quietly restarts the match. I remember this happening, because he has him down, 1, 2, 3. Then he's celebrating. Morocco is celebrating. Tito Santana gets up, and the referee's like, this is a thing again. And he hits him with like a roll-up. Ref counts 1, 2, 3. There was no bell being rung. There was no announcement. It was kind of douchey, to be honest. The match gets restarted, and Tito wins, and the announcer keeps calling him Chico. I don't know what that's about. Then we see Bobby Heenan backstage, and he mentions that he's feuding with Paul Orndorff, and he flips at Gene for calling him a weasel, even though that was his nickname, wasn't it? I mean, he didn't even call him a weasel. I think he mentioned that he was weaseling his way out of the tournament, which it was a humorous little spot. Orndorff beats the hell out of Orton's arm the entire match, which is okay, I guess. There's a okay. One of them has the other one up for like a flapjack spot, drops him on the rope. So like Stone Cold had this move. It was like a can't remember what they called it. Stun gun, maybe? You guys probably know what move I'm talking about, where you drop them on the ropes. And one of the commentators called that a clothesline on the top rope. These announcers don't really seem to know what they're talking about, which is just weird. Paul grabs the tights to do a sunset flip, and I thought it was humorous because they actually had to put the censored bar in there to cover up his ass crack, which was humorous. Also, they made reference because Cowboy Bob Orton's finishing move, I don't think I actually mentioned that was the match. It's Paul Orndorff versus Bob Orton, but his finishing move was the superplex, which is why Randy Orton always says superplex. But it's interesting because they mentioned no one kicked out of the superplex yet. And my reaction is, damn! Because nowadays you see that happen all the time. Literally, Seth Rollins has a move where he does a superplex, and then does a suplex after that, and people kick out of that. Yet, at this point, nobody kicked out of it. Okay, now, I made reference to this. Orton did the same move Davey Boy Smith had done earlier, where he was running and kind of got caught up in the ropes with his crotch, and the match didn't end. So, what the hell? The canon they set up in the pay-per-view doesn't line up with itself less than an hour later, which was just weird for me. Yeah, Bob Orton's on the rope, he adjusts his cast, which was kind of weird, and then he hits Paul with it, and then he goes to pin him, and then the ref waits a few seconds, and then rings for the bell for DQ, which was just weird. It seems like the referees, like, did they know what was going to happen? Because I would assume they would have to, but then they wait comically long to actually do something. It looked really weird. Now think about this, we are 1 hour in, okay, and we have seen 8 matches. Holy hell. Okay, so Vince is going over the tournament, and for a second there, he just randomly gets muted when talking about Spot's opponent. Don't know what that was about. Terry Funk comes in and explodes on them. It was a nice, humorous little segment. Then we got the beginning of the second round, so we had Dynamite Kid versus Adrian Adonis. During the match, okay, Jesse the Body Ventura, who had announced earlier that he was helping Randy Savage prepare, literally just straight up gets up and leaves. Okay, so this is one of the 2 pay-per-views that year. This is literally WWF pay-per-view number 2. Okay, number 2! And your commentator walks out halfway through the show. Wait, why? I made a mention in my notes, that's how I feel too. But yes, to go to the backstage to talk to Macho Man Randy Savage. Adonis, I thought was interesting, he used a modified sharpshooter, and then there was another stupid ending of this match where Dynamite Kid kicks out of a pinfall attempt. And then Adonis bumps into his manager Jimmy Hart, and they both get knocked out. So literally, like, the impact of being pushed into his manager was enough to knock him out for a 3 count. Man, wrestling was weird back then. But as I was watching, I noticed something. Because at about the 2 count, you can see Adrian Adonis' foot is on the fucking ropes. So the match shouldn't have been over anyway. Using the logic they had set up earlier in the night, then in theory the match should have been restarted. Adrian Adonis could roll up a Dynamite Kid and win the match. So then we had Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage. And man, this is weird because isn't this the match they had at WrestleMania 3? For the IC title? It's like one of the classic wrestling matches. I want to say it was these 2. But yeah, I made a reference in the notes that Savage Pearl Harbored Steamboat, because they mentioned that on commentary. Again, I was really hoping that was going to stop. This match is okay. Randy has like brass knuckles in his tights, and he uses it to beat Steamboat, which I'm okay with it. Again, like, I get that these matches have to be shorter so we can fit in all the matches on the card, but at the same point, like, some of the finishes seemed so forced. This one made sense. So then we had Moondog Spot versus Junkyard Dog, and the thing that immediately comes to mind is they have the same gimmick. Because Moondog Spot has a bone. He literally carries around a bone. His name is Spot. He has dog in his name. They both have dog in their names. They're dogs. They have the same gimmick. Except Junkyard Dog is not an idiot. And Dog literally squashes Spot. And he pins him, right? And there's no referee. Okay, so there's a question. Where the hell is the referee? The ref should know that the match is going to start early, so he should be there. So what does Junkyard Dog do? 1, 2, 3 himself. And somehow that counts as a victory? What in the hell? Nowadays, if there's no referee available and you pin somebody, the whole point is the crowd goes 1, 2, 3, and then, oh, they count again 1, 2, 3, and then the person gets up and he's like, I gotta wake the referee up so that way he can get, rolled up. This just made no sense. So then we had Paul Orndorff versus Tito Santana, and oh god, racism was going hard in the commentary booth as Tito must try to injure Paul because he's from Mexico. I'm not even playing. This was just weird. So weird. The thing I should mention here is that Bobby the Brain Heenan has a bounty out on Paul Orndorff's head. Paul Orndorff, who is now a face, even though at WrestleMania he was a heel. It's all weird. But yeah, there's a spot where it looks like Tito tapped, so the match should have ended, didn't, and then it ends in a double countout. Vince McMahon is backstage and he says it's the first annual wrestling classic. Well, I can tell you right now, Vince, it was not. So then we had Piper versus Hogan for the WWF title, and they both have music. So again, notice I've been putting mention of who has music. Savage has music, Corporal Kirchner has music, Hogan has music, Piper has music, Junkyard Dog has music. That's about it. So the fact they both have music implies that the company thought highly of everybody involved. So Hogan plows into the referee. Okay, so Piper grabs a chair and uses it, but Hogan catches it, right? So then Bob Orton interferes. Orndorff runs in with a chair to send the heels out because Orndorff is apparently on Hulk Hogan's team now, which I guess makes sense because you weren't going to have Mr. T there, but that raised the question, where is Jimmy Snuka? I mean, oh well. You also have no mention to a feud with Hulk Hogan and Bobby the Brain Heenan, even though apparently Bobby Heenan is advocating for King Kong Bundy at this point. So there's a few plot holes here. It seemed like they removed something from the commentary, because for a good while the commentary was just quiet. I don't know what was removed. I think something was. It might not have even been removed. The commentary table might have just been in awe of the fact that the title match ended in DQ. I don't know. But for the record, okay, and I want to take a break here and mention this. Okay, Piper this might have been his only title match on pay-per-view. I don't know yet. Okay, and it ends in DQ. Notice how much this happened back then? Not even just title matches, just every match. There are like no finishers yet. I haven't seen the atomic leg drop yet. I haven't seen Macho Man Randy Savage's elbow from the top rope. I haven't seen Jimmy Snuka's finishing move. He hasn't even been in a match yet, actually. I think I've seen King Kong Bundy's finishing move, and that's it. It's just so weird. Anyway, Gene Okerlund interviews JYD backstage and says he believes Junkyard Dog is going to make it to the finals. And my reaction is no fucking duh. Because it's already been announced. Because he got a bye. Vince McMahon already mentioned this. There is no opponent for him until the finals. So, yeah, he's going to the finals. Which was just silly. And then we had Randy Savage versus Dynamite Kid. This is the final match for the semifinals. And I must say, jockeying for position back then was way more exciting. There's a lot of noise. The ring is shaking. I mean, whew. You don't get that nowadays. But, I mean, it was exciting. Dynamite Kid uses a superplex, which is weird because Bob Orton's finishing move, thought they didn't use other people's moves back then. But, whatever. But interestingly enough, after they land, Savage kind of puts his feet up and wraps them around Kid's legs and pins him like that. Which, I must say, it was a really neat spot. Do I think it was a good spot? Meh. I'm not complaining. But I like the way they did this, and clearly the point of this show was to, for one, have a pay-per-view. I think, didn't they use this as leverage so that way they wouldn't, some channels wouldn't air WCW Starrcade or something? I don't fucking know. But that's one reason, to get viewers to entertain. But you can clearly see that they want to keep Junkyard Dog established. And they want to have Macho Man Randy Savage actually get established, because they knew he was up to something good. So you can see here, he's won 3 matches now as a heel. He's doing a damn good job. So yeah. Then we get to the part that's kind of confusing. They're giving out a Rolls Royce. What? Vince is talking to a bimbo when he says it's a nice looking car. And there's footage on the screen of the car driving by. And because again, I have subtitles on, she says, "It is?" question mark. So she is asking him, "It is?" "Oh yeah, it is." I'm like, you you dumb bitch. That's all I could think about. How do you fuck that up? Oh my god. See, I must say that no matter how much the WWE looks professional nowadays, back then everything was so amateur. The video of the car going by was really, literally, I could have filmed that. Okay? Crappy video footage of it. The dumb bitch who didn't even know her lines. A lot of the spots and the matches were kind of weird. The referee has never seemed to be in position. It's crazy how much it's changed. So anyway, they have all these people on the ring for the giveaway, and it's really dull. The crowd does not seem to be in it, and you can tell they aren't, because at some point, somebody in the audience chucks something inside the ring. I don't know what it was. I paused, I tried looking at it, couldn't tell. They almost hit Lord Alfred Hayes. And like afterwards, for a second, like he doesn't react immediately. But then a few seconds later, he's like, so I don't know if it was because he was about to get the mic, or if he just realized like, oh shit, that thing almost hit me. You can see the thing hits the ring and then bounces into the audience. Somebody was aiming for him, and he was gonna get hurt. But yeah, some guy named Michael Hamley wins the car. Who cares? So we have the finals of the tournament, the main event. And before we continue, I just want to mention, whenever an internet guy has the world title, they always say, "Oh, he's not in the main event. He's not in the main event. CM Punk might be the champion, but John Cena is the main event." Blah, blah, blah. Well, right here, okay, they had a perfect excuse to have that as the main event. To have Hulk Hogan versus Piper as the main event. Honestly, it should have been the main event. But the main event instead was Randy Savage versus Junkyard Dog in the finals of the Wrestling Classic. And I mean, it's okay. The match starts, Randy Savage grabs a chair and throws it at Dog, and he literally picks up the chair and just starts banging it on his head, which, I mean, I can't lie, that was a pretty cool spot. Savage Pearl Harbors him, so apparently Savage is the only one who's realized you can Pearl Harbor people. He uses a chair, and the referee does not ring the bell. So, at the first 2 WrestleManias, chairs have been used in the main events with no DQ being called, which is just weird. Junkyard Dog does the headbutt spot. It looks bad, but Savage oversells it for him savagely. It actually kind of looks good here. Do I think it looks good because of Junkyard Dog? No. No. It looked good because Randy Savage was overselling the hell out of that move. And then in a weird twist of fate, Junkyard Dog wins via countout. What? This is your tournament and it ends on a countout? But see, like, the thing about this, though, they wanted to keep Savage looking good. They wanted to make him look as good as possible. So in theory, what they could have done is they could have had this happen right after the superplex spot. Had like a really quick, you know, oh my god, Savage just wrestled a match, how is he going to wrestle this match? Give him like 3-4 minutes. Oh, nope, Savage loses, Junkyard Dog wins, but Savage wasn't well rested, while Junkyard Dog was. And then you could have Hulk Hogan, Piper as the main event, which I think also ended in a stupid ending. So, yeah. Okay, so I counted it up. There were 9 new guys in this tournament. So in the 7 months from WrestleMania 1 to the Wrestling Classic, 9 new guys out of 16. It's just mind-boggling. 15 matches, 6 of them ended directly via shenanigans. So, DQ, count out, double count out, forfeit, things like that. No match went over 9 minutes, which I guess makes sense. You had to fill so many matches in this space. But I want to mention here, okay, that people always talk about how there's too many matches for the card. The match got to be squeezed in. Well, this is what seems to happen in every WrestleMania. I don't get it. But yeah, Jesse Ventura, at the very end of the show, channels his inner Kanye West, if you will, and goes in the ring. He's like, "That's not fair, Junkyard. You only had to fight 2 people, and Savage had to fight 3 people. It's not fair." And I got a kick out of that. But aside from that, I mean, do I think this show is a must-watch? No. No, it's not. It's not. If you want to go through your life and never watch this, then don't. Don't watch it, because it's a waste of time, honestly. But at the same point, if you want to go back and say, man, I've seen every pay-per-view, like I want to say, because I'm an idiot, then go back and watch it. I honestly think it was better than WrestleMania 1. Just because WrestleMania 1, it just... meh. There was a clear story throughout the night. There were injuries that were going on, so there was stories within the matches, basically. And then, not to mention, you had Macho Man Randy Savage. So, I mean, you had a few people who could actually work in this tournament, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Though I do find it odd people who weren't here. Andre the Giant, King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, who was in a big match with Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 1. And then Jimmy Snuka, not here. And we get no explanation for why they're not here. We don't get any explanation for what's going on in this story. It's just kind of there. Which... can't wait till that changes. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Next Saturday, we will be reviewing WrestleMania 2 in 3 venues. And then the week after that, we'll finally be reviewing WrestleMania 3. Just a big show. That's the one we want to watch. Because this is the first WrestleMania where I think people actually say, this is a good WrestleMania. Or at least it had its thing. So, comment with your opinions on this show if you've ever seen it, or if you think I should quit doing this series, please, please, please. Or if you have other video series ideas, because I kind of do need more video series ideas. But thank you for watching. Peace out.